Captain Lee Jaiwan couldn't believe the message on the screen. It had appeared suddenly, interrupting all broadcasts across Earth. The strange symbols had quickly been decoded by the best linguists and scientists on the planet. A transmission from space. First contact. Read it again, Lee said, her hands trembling slightly as she stood in the command center of humanity's most advanced spaceship, the UNS Defiant. Commander Kim Do-hyun nodded and cleared his throat. To the species of Earth, the Galactic Conclave extends greeting and invitation. Your civilization has been observed reaching beyond your atmosphere. As is tradition, we invite your finest vessel to participate in the display of ships, our ceremony of welcome and assessment. Coordinates follow. Lee looked around the room at the stunned faces of her crew. 3 years they had trained together for the Defiant's first deep space mission. Now this. It could be a trick, suggested Security Officer Song Juno. Or a trap. Perhaps, said Lee. But it's also the greatest opportunity humanity has ever received. The next day, the United Earth Council met in emergency session. Representatives from every nation argued for hours. Some wanted to ignore the message. Others suggested sending robotic probes instead of people. The invitation is clear, Director Park Hyunju said, her voice cutting through the noise. They want to see our best ship. They want to meet us. If we don't go, what message does that send? In the end, the vote was unanimous. Humanity would accept the invitation. At the space dock orbiting Earth, the Defiant underwent final preparations. The ship was massive by Earth standards, nearly half a kilometer long with the most powerful engines ever built. But how would it compare to alien technology? Captain Lee walked the corridors, checking on her crew. In engineering, she found Chief Engineer Yang Mina surrounded by engine parts. Making improvements? Lee asked. Yang looked up, dark circles under her eyes. Trying to. The antimatter reaction chamber could be more efficient. I just wish we had more time. We have what we have, Lee said. The conclave didn't give us a choice about the date. Yan nodded. I just don't want them to think we're primitive. Maybe we are, compared to them. But we'll represent Earth as best we can. On the observation deck, Lee found Science Officer Bae Ji-young staring at the stars. Nervous? Lee asked. Excited, Bae replied. Think about all we might learn. Their technology, their biology, their history, it's a scientist's dream. Just remember our primary mission is diplomatic, Lee cautioned. We represent all of humanity now. The day of departure arrived with global celebrations. The Defiant was loaded with cultural artifacts, scientific data, and carefully chosen gifts for the alien species they might meet. Every country had contributed something to show the best of humanity. As the crew prepared for launch, Lee received a final call from Earth Command. Captain Lee, Director Park said, her image flickering on the screen. The world watches you today. This mission goes beyond exploration. It's about our place in the universe. We understand the responsibility, Lee replied. There's one more thing, Park said. Our deep space telescopes have detected movement. Ships, dozens of them, are gathering at the coordinates the conclave provided. They're waiting for you. Lee felt her heart beat faster. How advanced are they? Beyond our comprehension. Some appear to bend light around them. Others seem to move without propulsion. Captain, the technological gap appears to be significant. Lee took a deep breath. Then we'll have to impress them with something other than technology. On the bridge, her crew waited at their stations. Commander Kim looked up as she entered. All systems ready, Captain. The crew is prepared. Lee nodded and took her seat. Communications, send message to Earth Command, the Defiant is departing for conclave coordinates. We go to represent humanity and return with knowledge. She looked at the faces around her, nervous, excited, determined. They were the best Earth had to offer, about to meet civilizations that had mastered the stars while humans were still figuring out electricity. Navigation, plot course according to conclave coordinates. Engineering, prepare for maximum acceleration once we clear Earth orbit. The ship hummed beneath them as engines powered up. And everyone, Lee added quietly, remember that they invited us. That means they see something in humanity worth knowing. Let's prove them right. The Defiant broke free from Earth's gravity, accelerating toward the stars and toward humanity's first meeting with the wider galactic community, for better or worse. The Defiant traveled through space for 3 weeks. The crew settled into their routines, but everyone felt the weight of their mission. They were no longer just explorers, they were ambassadors for all of humanity. Captain Lee spent many hours in the observation room, watching the stars streak by. The conclave's coordinates had taken them farther than any human had gone before. Sometimes Commander Kim would join her there. Do you think we're ready for this? Kim asked one evening. Lee considered the question carefully. No. But we'll do it anyway. On the 22nd day, Navigation Officer Ryu Miho announced they were approaching the final jump point. The crew gathered on the bridge, tension filling the air. Prepare for final approach, Captain Lee ordered. All departments report status. One by one, the section chiefs confirmed readiness. Security, engineering, science, medical all prepared for whatever waited on the other side. Jump in 3, 2, 1. The Defiant shuddered slightly as it emerged into new space. Then silence fell across the bridge. Before them spread a sight no human had ever witnessed. Dozens, no, hundreds, of spacecraft filled the area around a giant artificial structure. The ships varied in size and shape in ways that defied human engineering. Some glowed with inner light. Others seemed to phase in and out of visibility. A few were so large they made the Defiant look like a toy. My God, whispered Communications Officer Choi Hana. There must be 20 different species here. Science Officer Bay rapidly collected data. The structure appears to be a ring, possibly artificial. It orbits what seems to be a neutron star. Captain, the technology required to build something like this. Captain Lee steadied herself. Record everything. And prepare to be contacted. They didn't wait long. A soft chime indicated an incoming transmission. Put it on screen, Lee ordered. The main view screen filled with the image of a being unlike anything from Earth. It had blue skin that seemed to shimmer with patterns, for eyes arranged vertically, and tentacle-like appendages where a human would have arms. Human vessel, the being spoke in perfect English, I am Ambassador Moon of the Conclave Welcome Committee. We acknowledge your arrival and commend your punctuality. Captain Lee stood straight. Thank you, Ambassador Moon. I am Captain Lee Jaiwan of the United Earthship Defiant. We're honored by your invitation. The ambassador's upper eyes blinked. Your position in the display will be in Sector 47, Orbital Path Gamma. Please proceed there immediately. The ceremony begins in 6 standard hours. The screen went dark before Lee could respond. Lieutenant Han Junho, at the navigation console, looked up. Sector 47? That's at the very edge of the formation. I'm receiving the coordinates now. They're putting us in the cheap seats, Security Chief Kong Sun-woo muttered. Captain Lee remained composed. Navigation, take us to our assigned position. Slowly. I want everyone to get a good look at what we're dealing with. As the Defiant moved carefully through the gathered fleet, the crew stared in amazement. They passed ships that looked like giant crystalline structures, others that resembled living creatures more than machines, and some that defied description entirely. Captain, Bay reported from the science station, I'm detecting energy readings that contradict our understanding of physics. Some of these vessels appear to manipulate gravity itself for propulsion. Engineer Yang's voice came over the comm. Captain, request permission to modify our sensors. We're missing data because our equipment wasn't designed to detect these energy patterns. Granted, Lee replied. But be discreet. Let's not advertise our limitations. As they approached their assigned position, several sleek ships moved aside. Their pilots could be seen through viewports, watching the human vessel with what looked like curiosity or perhaps disdain. "They're studying us," Commander Kim observed quietly. "Good," Captain Lee replied. "Let them look. And meanwhile, we'll watch them too." The Defiant took its place at the outer edge of the massive formation. From there, they could see the entire gathering, a spectacular display of galactic diversity and advancement. "Now what?" asked Commander Kim. "Now we wait," Lee said. "And we learn. Record everything, but don't broadcast anything unless I approve it first. Remember, everything we do reflects on Earth." As the crew settled in to observe the alien fleet, Security Chief Kong approached the captain. "Ma'am, I've noticed something. Several ships have been scanning us continuously since we arrived." "That's expected," Lee replied. "Yes, but one vessel in particular seems interested in our engineering section. The scans are more focused, more detailed." Captain Lee nodded slowly. "Keep monitoring. Better to be underestimated for now, but let's not be naive. Post additional security in engineering." As the countdown to the ceremony continued, Captain Lee looked out at the vast array of ships. Earth was now officially part of something much bigger than humanity had ever imagined. Whether they would rise to the occasion or be forgotten as an insignificant species remained to be seen. "One thing is certain," she thought. "After today, nothing will ever be the same." The display ceremony began with a series of light signals pulsing across the gathered ships. The Defiant's crew watched in awe as vessels from advanced civilizations performed complex maneuvers in perfect unison. Massive ships twisted in ways that seemed impossible while smaller craft wove intricate patterns between them. "Our turn comes in sequence position 132, Commander Kim informed the captain. "Nearly last." Captain Lee nodded. "Of course. The newcomers go last." The hours passed as they observed the other species demonstrate their technological prowess. Some ships split into multiple smaller vessels before rejoining. Others created energy fields visible as rainbow-like patterns across space. One particularly impressive vessel seemed to briefly disappear and reappear elsewhere. "They're showing off," Engineer Yang commented over the comms. "This isn't just a ceremony, it's a power display." While they waited, Science Officer Bay continued analyzing data from the other ships. Security Chief Kong remained concerned about the unusual scanning patterns directed at their vessel. "Captain," Kang's voice suddenly cut through the quiet bridge. "Security sensors have detected movement in lower engineering section C. It's not one of our crew." Lee straightened in her chair. "Intruders? How is that possible?" "Unknown, Captain. Our shields are up, and airlocks are sealed." "Security team to Section C immediately," Lee ordered. "Commander Kim, you have the bridge." Lee hurried through the corridors with Security Chief Kong and two officers. When they reached Engineering Section C, they found Engineer Yang already there, her face grim. "Someone or something tampered with our primary coolant system," Yang explained, pointing to open panels and disconnected components. "If the secondary systems weren't already online for testing, we'd be facing a critical failure within minutes." "How did they get in?" Lee demanded. Kong shook his head. "No signs of physical entry. It's as if they teleported directly inside." Lee's communicator chimed. "Captain," Bay's voice came through, "I've identified the ship that was scanning us earlier. It belongs to a species called the Talon. According to data we've gathered from Open Conclave communications, they're known for their disapproval of newcomer species." "Sabotage," Lee said flatly. "They want to embarrass us during our display turn." Engineer Yang was already working on the damaged systems. "I can bypass the primary coolant, but it will take at least 4 hours to properly repair." "Our display turn is in 3 hours, Kong reminded them. Lee studied the damage. "Can we perform with the secondary system?" "Yes," Yang said slowly, "but at reduced capacity. We'll look primitive." "Maybe that's not a bad thing," Lee replied thoughtfully. "Continue repairs, but don't rush. And let's keep this incident quiet for now." Back on the bridge, Lee called a meeting with her senior officers. The Talon want us to fail, she explained. They expect us to either withdraw from the display or embarrass ourselves when our systems malfunction. We should report this to the Conclave authorities, Commander Kim suggested. With what proof? Lee countered. And what would that accomplish except making us look weak, unable to handle our own problems? She paced the bridge once before continuing. Instead, we'll adjust our display routine. Focus on what humans do best: adaptation. When the Defiant's turn in the display finally came, the massive alien fleet watched with what could only be described as mild curiosity. Few expected much from the newcomers in their bulky, primitive vessel. The Defiant moved forward from its position, engines glowing steadily despite the sabotage. Instead of attempting the complex maneuvers shown by other species, Captain Lee had ordered something different. The ship split its shield configuration into layers that caught light from the nearby neutron star, creating a dazzling array of colors. Then, as they performed a simple spiral pattern, the ship ejected small drones that Engineer Yang had reprogrammed in the last hours. The drones formed a protective formation around the Defiant, then suddenly rearranged themselves to display a three-dimensional representation of Earth and its solar system. As the formation moved, the image changed to show human evolution, from single cells to space travelers, all rendered in light and movement. Communications Officer Choi opened a channel to the assembled fleet. Captain Lee's voice echoed across space. The people of Earth bring greetings to the Galactic Conclave. Our technology may not equal yours yet, but we bring something equally valuable: our unique perspective, our creativity in the face of challenges, and our determination to overcome obstacles. As she spoke, the drone shifted again to show the damaged coolant system, and then displayed the makeshift but effective repair that Yang had created using materials never intended for that purpose. Some might see our methods as primitive, Lee continued, her voice steady. We call it innovation. Where we lack advanced technology, we compensate with adaptability. This is humanity's gift to the stars. The display concluded with the drones returning to the Defiant in perfect formation. The comm channels, which had been quiet, suddenly buzzed with chatter in various alien languages. Lee smiled slightly at Commander Kim. I think we've got their attention now. The Defiant returned to its position in the display formation after completing its presentation. The bridge crew monitored the communications channels, noting increased chatter about the human vessel. They're surprised, Communications Officer Choi reported, listening through her earpiece. Some are impressed by our adaptability. Others still think we're primitives who got lucky. Captain Lee nodded. Both perspectives are useful to us for now. The ceremony continued as the final few species performed their displays. The bridge crew was discussing their next steps when Science Officer Bay suddenly straightened at her station. Captain, I'm detecting unusual activity from the neutron star, she said, fingers flying across her console. Energy readings are spiking dramatically. Before Lee could respond, a brilliant flash of light burst from the star. The viewscreen automatically darkened to protect the crew's eyes as a massive solar flare erupted, sending waves of radiation and charged particles toward the gathered fleet. Radiation surge incoming. They shouted. Impact in 45 seconds. Commander Kim turned to the captain. Our shields can handle this level of radiation, but I'm not sure about some of the other vessels. Captain Lee made a split-second decision. Open a channel to all ships in our sector. Choi worked quickly. Channel open, Captain. Attention nearby vessels. This is Captain Lee of the Earthship Defiant. We've detected a severe radiation surge approaching. Our scans indicate it may overwhelm certain shield configurations. We recommend immediate adjustment to your defensive systems. The response was immediate but not what she expected. Several ships nearest to them powered up their engines and began moving away, abandoning their positions in the formation. Others seemed frozen, their crews perhaps debating what to do. 20 seconds to impact, they counted down. A small crystalline vessel directly in their sector suddenly emitted a high-pitched distress signal. Its lights flickered, and it began drifting out of position. That ship's power systems are failing, Commander Kim reported. They'll be defenseless when the radiation hits. Can we extend our shields to cover them? Lee asked. Engineer Yang's voice came over the comm. Possible, but not recommended. Our systems are already compensating for the coolant damage. Adding protection for another vessel could overload us. 15 seconds, Bay continued. Lee made her decision. Move us alongside that vessel. Extend shields at maximum capacity. All non-essential systems, power down now. The Defiant surged forward, positioning itself between the failing alien ship and the approaching radiation wave. Around them, the perfect formation of the display had dissolved into chaos as vessels scrambled to protect themselves. Shield extension in place, Khan reported from security. But our coverage will be thin. 10 seconds, they announced. Lee addressed the crew. All personnel, prepare for impact. This could get rough. The first wave of radiation struck the Defiant like a physical blow. The ship shuddered, lights dimming as power was diverted to the shields. Shield strength at 82% and falling, Kong reported, his voice steady despite the danger. Through the viewscreen, the crew could see other ships being tossed about by the radiation waves. Some had clearly lost power, drifting helplessly. Others had managed to raise sufficient protection but were struggling to maintain position. Second wave incoming, Bay warned. This one's stronger. When the second wave hit, several consoles on the bridge sparked. A warning klaxon began to sound. Shield strength at 64%, Khan updated. The alien vessel is still protected, but they haven't restored power. Lee turned to Kim. Can we send a team to help them? In this radiation? It would be extremely dangerous, Kim replied. Engineer Yang's voice came through again. Captain, I have an idea. Their ship's design suggests crystalline technology. If we can transmit a modulated energy pulse through our shield connection, it might restart their systems. Do it, Lee ordered without hesitation. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then the lights on the alien vessel flickered once, twice, and steadily came back online. Its own shields began to glow faintly. It's working! They exclaimed. They're bringing their systems back online. As the final radiation wave passed through the fleet, the Defiant maintained its protective position. Around them, other ships were beginning to recover and assist those still in danger. Captain, Choi called out, we're receiving multiple hails from at least 6 different species. They're requesting our assistance. Lee looked around at her crew, tired but determined. It seems we've made an impression after all. Tell them we'll help however we can. Over the next several hours, the Defiant's crew worked alongside alien engineers to restore power to damaged vessels and help stabilize the fleet. The humans' practical approach to problem-solving proved invaluable in situations where more advanced technologies had failed. In the temporary control center established to coordinate recovery efforts, Ambassador Moon approached Captain Lee. Captain, the Conclave representative said, it appears we may have misjudged your species' potential contribution to the Conclave. Lee offered a tired smile. A common mistake, Ambassador. Humanity has been underestimating ourselves for centuries too. When the display reforms, Moon continued, the Conclave elders request the Defiant take a new position in the formation. Oh? Lee raised an eyebrow. And where would that be? The center, Captain, Moon replied. Where all can see what humanity has to offer. The Defiant floated at the center of the reformed display formation. Around it, hundreds of alien vessels arranged themselves in perfect circles, their positions now determined by how they had responded during the crisis rather than their technological advancement. Captain Lee stood on the bridge, watching the spectacle with a sense of wonder. Just days ago, the human ship had been relegated to the outer edges, barely noticed by the gathered species. Now every vessel in the fleet could see the Defiant, its simple but sturdy design a stark contrast to the exotic craft surrounding it. Hard to believe, Commander Kim said quietly beside her. We came here expecting to be humbled. And instead we taught them something, Lee replied. The communications console chimed. Captain, Officer Choi announced, the Conclave High Speaker requests your presence at the closing ceremony. A shuttle is approaching to transport you. Lee straightened her uniform. Commander Kim, you have the bridge. The alien shuttle that docked with the Defiant was piloted by a species Lee hadn't seen before, beings with transparent skin that revealed complex circulatory systems flowing with luminescent fluids. They said nothing during the journey to the massive ring structure that served as the Conclave headquarters. Inside, representatives from dozens of species filled a vast chamber. Some floated in specially designed tanks. Others moved on multiple legs or hovered above the ground. Lee recognized a few from their interactions during the crisis, including the captain of the crystalline vessel they had saved, who bowed its upper body in acknowledgement as she passed. At the center of the chamber stood a raised platform where 3 imposing figures waited. Ambassador Moon stood nearby and gestured for Lee to join them. Captain Lee Jaiwan of Earth, Moon announced formally, the High Speakers wish to address you before the assembled conclave. The tallest of the High Speakers stepped forward. Its form shifted constantly, like smoke given shape and consciousness. Human, it spoke, its voice resonating directly in Lee's mind rather than through sound. Your species has surprised us. This rarely happens. The second speaker, a being with multiple compound eyes arranged across a broad face, continued, for 10,000 cycles, the Conclave has evaluated new spacefaring races through the display. We observe their technology, their behavior, their response to challenges. The third speaker, smaller than the others but somehow more intense, added, most new species either bring remarkable technology but lack cooperation, or show admirable character but insufficient advancement. Your people have demonstrated something unexpected. The first speaker gestured, and a holographic image appeared above the platform, the Defiant extending its shields to protect another ship. When faced with danger, many races chose self-preservation, the speaker noted. Your vessel risked its safety for strangers. Then, rather than seeking advantage from your actions, you freely offered assistance to all who needed it. Captain Lee listened carefully, aware that her words would be recorded and studied by both humans and aliens for years to come. On Earth, we have a saying, she replied. The true measure of any society can be found in how it treats those who need help. We don't consider cooperation to be separate from advancement, they're part of the same journey. The High Speakers conferred silently among themselves, then the second one addressed the assembled representatives. The conclave has reached a decision. Earth will be granted full membership status, effective immediately. Furthermore, human representatives will join the Crisis Response Council, where their adaptive problem-solving skills may benefit all. A murmur went through the chamber, some voices clearly approving, others less certain. The third speaker raised a limb for silence. Let it also be recorded that the human approach to the display has prompted us to reconsider our evaluation methods. Perhaps technological achievement alone is an insufficient measure of a species' potential contribution to our community. After the ceremony, Lee found herself surrounded by alien representatives eager to establish connections with Earth. Many offered technology exchanges and cultural sharing opportunities. A few, including, surprisingly, a Talon diplomat, formally requested permission to visit Earth. Your world must be remarkable, the Talon said, to produce beings who think as you do. 6 months later, Captain Lee stood on a balcony overlooking the newly constructed Galactic Embassy in Seoul. Below her, human and alien diplomats mingled in the grand courtyard. Above the main entrance, the conclave insignia had been redesigned to incorporate the silhouette of the Defiant, a permanent acknowledgement of humanity's unexpected impact. Director Park joined her at the railing. When we sent you to that ceremony, we hoped you might secure a minor trade agreement or technology exchange. Instead, you've transformed Earth's position in the galaxy. Lee smiled slightly. We didn't dominate with superior weapons or faster engines. We showed them something they hadn't seen before, how a young species handles adversity. In orbit above Earth, the Defiant was being refitted with enhancements designed collaboratively by human engineers and alien scientists. It would soon depart on another mission, this time not as a newcomer seeking acceptance, but as a symbol of a different kind of strength. The conclave thought they were evaluating us, Lee said, watching an alien child playing with human children in the embassy garden below. But in the end, perhaps we were evaluating them too.